Hello everyone, it's me, John Flynn, once again, joined by Chris again, and we are ready to do another week of NFL picks. Last week I was 7-7, while I think, Chris, you were like 8-6, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. I mean, I did not have a great week because like there were certain games like the Panthers employing Derek Anderson against the Panthers, and you know how that turns out. And a lot of games that were pretty bad for my view. So it's time to bounce back this week, and it's an even numbered week. So Chris will run us through the games.
All right, so let's start off with the locals. We'll start off with the Giants. I mean, last week, Sunday Night Football, for the second straight week, the offense really struggled. A lot of questions surrounding this offense right now. The offensive line, can they protect Eli? They really had a bad game this past week against Green Bay. It seemed like every single drop back, Eli Manning was under pressure. And if not for a late touchdown score, the offense was basically shut down. So they've lost 3 in a row. Now they come back home, which I think is much needed for them. And they play a Baltimore team that started off at 3-0, have lost their last 2 games, both close losses. They easily could have won both games. So who do you got here? This Sunday at 1 at the Meadowlands. Who do you got?
Yeah, and don't forget that the Baltimore Ravens fired offensive coordinator Mark Trestman after their latest debacle against the suspect Washington defense, and this offense wasn't good. It wasn't good. Mark Trestman wasn't the guy. He wasn't the answer, but Joe Flacco's won a Super Bowl, and he knows how to win games. But their offense isn't good. You need a good team. You need a new quarterback, and I know the Giants are 2-3. I know they're in last place in the division, but I think now that they're back home, now they got the hard part of their schedule out of the way, I think they can go out and win some games, and I think the Giants will start on Sunday with the win against Baltimore in a very close game, because I know the Giants are favored by 2.5, and I got Baltimore to cover the spread, but the Giants to pull one out here. 24-23, Giants win.
Yeah, I think you could say this is basically a must-win game for the Giants. The way the NFC East is looking right now, where you got the Cowboys who are really on a roll. We'll talk about them in a little bit. They're on a roll right now. I know the Eagles just lost their first game of the year, but they're still sitting nice at 3-1 with a rookie quarterback. And then the Redskins started off at 0-2. They've pulled off 3 straight wins now. They're back over 500. The Giants are in the cellar right now. And looking at the teams in the NFC East this week, they have some tough matchups. So this would be a big win for the Giants. They could pull out a win this week. And really, I think this could possibly be a major game to determine if the Giants end up even in a playoff race by the end of the year. I think it's a winnable game. I think Baltimore has some problems, like the Giants. I think these two teams are flawed teams. So I think it'll be a closer game. I think it'll be a back-and-forth game. In the end, though, I like the Giants after 2 really tough road games to come back home and pull out a close win here to get back to 500. Give me the Giants 23, Ravens 20.
Yeah.
Now, the other New York team, and this one is in a much different scenario right now, but I'd say it's worse. The 1-4 New York Jets, who last week against Pittsburgh, they just got outplayed. And the offense continued to have some struggles. Fitzpatrick has continued to not have a great year. And now they go to Arizona to take on a 2-3 Cardinals team that has struggled this year, but nevertheless, in Arizona on a Monday night, it's going to be a tough game for the Jets. Who do you got?
Yeah, the Jets looked pathetic. They looked disgusted. They looked pathetic. They looked awful. I mean, 31-13, my first exactamento of the season. And that was the score of the game, which I picked. as part of the locals last week, and I expect a similar game against a different Arizona Cardinals team. Granted, the Cardinals employed Drew Stanton on last Thursday night, but is Palmer supposed to be back for Monday night's game?
Yeah, he passed concussion protocol.
So he passes concussion protocol, so it makes the matter even worse. And I think the Jets can put up a few points against Arizona's defense, but I think the Cardinals are still the better team, and they have the better coach and the better quarterback and the better defense. And I think after this game, Chris, I think you'll start to hear the Fire Bulls chants go up across but what should I call it, around social media. So, give me the Cardinals in this one. And again, I picked Arizona to win the Super Bowl again. Cardinals 31, Jets 18.
Yeah, I mean, this Cardinals team was a team that, me included, I think a lot of people had as possible Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. And so far this year, they just haven't shown that. I mean, even before Carson Palmer suffered that concussion, even when he was playing before that, he hasn't really looked the same this year, and that has turned out to really hurt the Cardinals. And put that with the fact that the defense hasn't played up to its standards that it has played in recent years. I mean, it spells out a 2-3 team, but I think for the Cardinals, this is the perfect matchup to get back on track. Carson Palmer's back this week, and the Jets right now, they're just a mess. I think their defense, which was supposed to be the strength, is severely overrated. I mean, the secondary is awful. The defensive line, I mean, Muhammad Wilkerson got paid big money this offseason. He has done nothing all year so far, not even one sack. I mean, this Jets team, especially with a coach that is very defensive-minded, has really underperformed. And I think this week they're really – I mean, if they drop to 1-5, like you just said, there's going to be some real anger among the Jets fans.
And don't forget, when we saw the schedule come out, and you look at the schedule and you say, playoff teams all around. You have Cincinnati, Kansas City, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Arizona, all in the first 6 weeks of the season. That signaled 1-5, and the Jets are one loss away from 1-5.
Yeah, and we knew when we saw the Jets schedule, we knew how tough this beginning of the schedule would be, and we would say how the Jets really needed to find a way to come out of this, with at least 2 wins at least, and they have a chance to do it this week, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Cardinals get back on track this week and pull out a win at home. Cardinals 27, Jets 21.
All right, so you're making it a closer game. So
yeah, I have closer. All right. What else we got? Let's go to Green Bay. This is another interesting matchup. I think it's Sunday at 4:30.
It's a 4:25 game on Fox.
Yeah, I mean the 4-1 Cowboys. We're going to talk about them now. Very impressive so far this year. Got to admit it. With a rookie quarterback, rookie running back, but I think this is going to be their toughest game of the season for Dallas. Going to Green Bay to take on a 3-1 Packers team that was pretty impressive last week against the Giants, especially defensively. So who do you got?
Yeah, and these are 2 teams that have high-powered offenses, despite the fact Dallas is employing Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback. Offensive line is fantastic. They're the best in the league. They have Ezekiel Elliott, who leads the league with 500+ yards rushing. You look at how their defense stiffened against Cincinnati. But then you have a Green Bay team that quite frankly, fans should be disappointed in how they played coming off the bye week against a Giants defense that had holes in it. And do you know what? I'm going to go with the Cowboys this week. I think their offensive line is better. I think I think that their quarterback is. I think Dak Prescott has outplayed Aaron Rodgers through 5 weeks, and I think Dallas can go to Green Bay and pull this one out. I like the Cowboys in an upset special here. Dallas 28, Packers, or as you say, Cheeseheads 24.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this game, I can see it going either way. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys have been nothing short of very impressive, and it starts with protecting the football. Prescott has not thrown an interception so far in his rookie season, and Ezekiel Elliott has averaged, he's been rushing for 100 yards per game easily so far, and the only game he hasn't was in Week 1 against the Giants. They've just been very impressive. The one thing I would say is that I still don't trust the Cowboys defensively. I think they still have some holes there. They don't have a ton of big playmakers on that defense, and I think this is a week that the Packers could take advantage of that. Also, to keep in mind, the Packers have the #1 run defense in the NFL, and I think this week they'll do enough to stop Ezekiel Elliott. I guess you could say a bold predictions, Elliott will not run for 100 yards this week. I think the Packers will hold them under that. In a close one at Lambeau Field, I think for a rookie quarterback, it's a very tough matchup. I think Green Bay squeezes it out at home. Packers 24, Cowboys 20.
Yeah, but I think what you also forget, what Chris also forgets, is that in 2014, Dallas had a Week 6 matchup in Seattle, where the Seattle at the time had the #1 rush defense, and the Cowboys went into Seattle and beat the Seahawks in a game in which Tom Brenneman and Troy Aikman called. Guess what? We have the same thing this week, because no Joe Buck on football, because he's going to call Game 2 of the NLCS at Wrigley Field on Sunday night, so he won't be in Green Bay unless he teleported himself. But I think, remember, history can often repeat itself, and I think it's gonna happen this week in Dallas.
That's true, but also with that game, Dallas that game had a much more experienced quarterback playing with Tony Romo, and
but you also have an offensive line too.
That's true.
Next.
But no, I mean, it's going to be an entertaining game.
All right.
All right. What other games do we got to talk about in depth? Here's another one. Another interesting game, in my opinion. The 4-1 Atlanta Falcons. I think this is one of the more surprising teams of the season so far. I mean, they've really outplayed everyone's expectations, and they look very good in the NFC South right now. This is going to be their toughest test of the year so far, in my opinion. I think going to Seattle, take on a 3-1 Seahawks team, coming off a bye. Oh, no, not a bye. They beat the Jets last week.
So they are coming off a bye week. So right. That was 2 weeks ago.
They played the Jets in Week 3. That's right.
And week 4.
Coming off a bye.
Week 4, the Seattle beat the Jets. Week 5 was their bye week.
This is Week 6. I'm getting so confused. Either way, Falcons at Seattle. What do you got?
You're killing me, Chris. You're killing me. But anyway, let's get to the game. As yeah, you deserve that drink of water. After that, and anyway, the Falcons beat Denver and the #1 defense. Denver's first loss of the calendar year. I think the defense played fantastic. They forced Paxton Lynch to make some throws. I think Atlanta's offensive line did enough to protect the football. I think Matt Ryan utilized receivers not named Julio Jones. But I think Seattle's a tougher test because, again, Seattle's offensive line and offense isn't fantastic. But again, they're coming off a bye week, and I think that's going to allow them to beat Atlanta on Sunday afternoon. But if Atlanta somehow wins on Sunday, I don't know what to do. But I like the Seattle Seahawks coming off their bye week. Seahawks 20, Falcons 13.
Yeah, I mean, what the Falcons did last week in Denver, it was pretty impressive. Against a Broncos defense that a lot tout as the best defense in the league. And they had a great game plan to go into that game with, and they performed it perfectly. And it helped that the Broncos offensively were starting a second-string quarterback that was making his first NFL start, and Paxton Lynch. So Atlanta's defense really took advantage of that as well. But yeah, this is going to be their toughest test of the year, and Seahawks coming off a bye. Defensively, they're still great. Offensively, the offensive line has played a lot better with protecting Russell Wilson. And remember, before the bye week, it seemed like Jimmy Graham was starting to get going again. And if they can get Jimmy Graham to come back to what he was with the Saints, that's going to help that offense even more. So this week, I think coming off a bye, I think Seattle's going to be very prepared. And I think they beat Atlanta at home Sunday afternoon. Seattle 24, Atlanta 17. So with that being said, that brings us to our final game that we're going to talk about in depth here. And it's a big matchup for the NFC East. This is a game that it's one of every NFC East game is huge just because every year it seems like there's a new team that steps up. But this game is interesting because you have the Philadelphia Eagles coming off their first loss of the year. Carson Wentz finally threw an interception. He had a very nice. He was also one of those rookie quarterbacks that had yet to throw an interception. Threw one late in the game against Detroit this past Sunday. That ended up costing the Eagles that game. Now they travel to Washington to take on a Redskins team that they've won 3 straight. They're sitting at 3-2. They have some holes. They have some problems on that team. They're not a perfect team. But either way, this is going to be a tough matchup for the Eagles, I think. So, who do you got here?
Yeah, and I think I think Chris knows that I had both these teams combined with 11 wins before the season started between the two teams, but these two teams already have 6 wins, and Washington's sitting pretty right now, 3-2. Not a lot of people thought that they'd be relevant in back-to-back years, and I give their defense a lot of credit. They stiffened up against Baltimore. They allowed 10 points to that Baltimore offense, and they even got their offensive coordinator fired. So that could also be a pat on the back, considering their Beltway rivals. But I think when I look at this game, I look at dealing with adversity. The Carson Wentz is coming off his first loss, and I think this is the best defense Carson Wentz has faced so far. You have a good the front 7 with Washington. You have Josh Norman and company. But I think there's going to be a lot of points on the board. But I think the Washington Redskins find a way to go to 4-2 and send the Eagles down to 3-2 on Sunday afternoon in a close one. Redskins 31, Eagles 27.
All right, yeah. And again, another game I wouldn't be surprised if either of these teams end up winning. From the Redskins' point of view, I see that the Eagles, they're finally coming off their first loss, and we don't know how a rookie quarterback in Carson Wentz is going to respond to that. And like you said, the Redskins, I think this is going to be Carson Wentz's toughest matchup so far this year, as in him seeing a defense that is this good. And again, the Redskins do have holes, and I'm going to talk about that. But yeah, from the Eagles' perspective, this is going to be a tough game. But when I look at it on the Redskins side, I just see too many holes in this team. And it's a team that really they could easily be 1-4 right now. There's not really a game that they've dominated so far, and they've played some ugly games. Last week was a game that I think they ended up playing better than Baltimore, but it wasn't an easy win. Even the game that they beat the Giants, that was a game that both teams really were pretty sloppy, and one of them had the win, and then they ended up beating the Browns in a close game. So this Redskins team, I'm still not a big believer in them. And I think Carson Wentz this week rebounds. I could see him, I think this could be a week that he throws an interception again. It's going to be a tough matchup on the road for him. But at the end of the day, even though the Eagles also have some defensive problems, I just think the Eagles are the more sound team here. And I think they pull out a win in a closer game. Eagles 23, Redskins 19.
Alright, Chris, let's take a look now at the rest of our picks for week number 6 of the National Football League, as I'm looking down at my whiteboard to see where we agree and disagree. both of us think Denver will beat San Diego in the Thursday night game. Of course, Denver in a short week coming off their first loss, and San Diego losing to Oakland in that one. Both of us like Pittsburgh over Miami. I think Chris, Pittsburgh's going to win in a blowout because my score there is 45-15 because let's face it, they gave up 30 points to a shaky Tennessee offense.
Yeah. I mean, Miami's not a great team. Only reason I have it as a close game is that I could see Miami late in the game, maybe getting a late score, making it interesting. But I think Pittsburgh's gonna outplay them in every facet of the game.
Yeah, and we also agree on the Patriots sending the Bengals down to 2-4. And I view the Bengals right now as a big time disappointment right now.
They look really bad. If they continue down this route, their coach is in some trouble, I'd say.
Yeah. And we have some disagreements here. You have Chicago over Jacksonville, while I have it the other way around. I have Tennessee actually beating the pathetic Cleveland Browns. You have New Orleans upsetting Carolina. You have the Lions over LA. I have the other way around. But I want to talk about the Bills 49ers game. You have the Bills winning that one by a final of 27-21. I have the Niners in an upset, but Colin Kaepernick making his first start since the kneeling controversies.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a big game in the terms of media coverage and all that. But at the same time, it doesn't matter who starts for the 49ers. They're a bad team either way. And I think going on the road, Kaepernick, he's not that great of a quarterback. I think going on the road, by the way, also, facing a Buffalo team that has actually won 3 straight and has been playing some decent football. So I think San Francisco keeps it close, but I think Buffalo's just a better team.
But don't forget who Buffalo's head coach is.
Yeah, that's
so let's round out the rest of the games that. In the late CBS game, we have Kansas City and Oakland, and as a matter of fact, we have the same score, 23-20 Kansas City. Because the reason I actually picked the Chiefs because I think the extra week of rest and the extra week of preparation against Oakland, which Andy Reid knows is no joke.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially the way they were embarrassed on Sunday Night Football that week against Pittsburgh. They're going to want to come out looking very good this week. And I think this is an Oakland team that, even at 4-1, they have some issues that the Chiefs can exploit. And I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, and the last Sunday night game is between the Texans and Colts, and let's see, who did you have there? You had Indianapolis and in a close one, but I actually think the Texans are going to win on Sunday night because they have the better defense.
They have the better defense, but at the same time, I don't know how they're going to score points. And I get the Colts' defense isn't great either. But I mean, Brock Osweiler has looked really bad.
But did you look at how Brian Hoyer? Yes, Brian Hoyer threw nearly 400 yards for nearly 400 yards against them, and I started him in fantasy, by the way. And my other quarterback option was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I thought the Colts defense was so bad. If the Colts defense gives up 400 yards of passing to Brian Hoyer, how the hell are they going to beat the Texans when their defense is much better than Chicago's? That's why I'm picking the Texans.
Yeah, I have the Colts purely because I think Andrew Luck, if the offensive line can protect them enough.
Oh, stop it. The offensive line is terrible. Because you really think Andrew Luck is going to exploit the Texans defense, which is one of the fiercest in the league?
I don't know. I think he will. I mean, the Texans.
Oh, come on.
No,
Come
no.
on. You know defense wins championships, right? And I know you don't tell me, Chris, that championships aren't won in October. Championships could be won through games in October, but it's only week 6, not wild card or divisional Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the Colts with I don't know. I just there's something with the Houston Texans that just doesn't appeal to me. And even defensively, without J.J. Watt, I mean, they're decent. They're still good, but that's a major missing piece.
Yeah, I disagree completely with that pick. So that will do it for this edition of NFL Picks for week number 6. And I hope this week is better for me than last week. And we have a lot of disagreements. So one of us is going to pick up ground on the other. So hope you enjoyed our edition of picks, and we'll see you next week.